So here we go. This is a one-page flowchart for SBL. It has all the main areas of concern, almost everything that you need to know, not 100%, but almost 100%. And it also shows the interdependencies, the relationships between the terms and the models. And I'll try to give you a way of thinking on where to look depending on the requirement. So this lecture, I have to call it a lecture, covers almost everything. And it's very important for you to take some notes and maybe even go back and listen to it again and again if you're taking the exam for SBL. This is an idea that has won an award. It's called the SBL Holistic Process Diagram. And it won an award in 2020. And thanks to you and the testimonials, I'm investing a lot more time and, of course, creating more tools for all of you based on what you have suggested. So let's start now one by one and let's do it. This is the flowchart for SBL. So as you can see, there's about 100 topics on this chart. And it starts with corporate governance and it goes down to the last part, which is project management. You need to understand how all these terms relate and interrelate and where to look depending on the requirement. So the first half of the board, if you want to look at it in a very easy way, has corporate governance areas, okay? So from here on and to the top of this board, there's corporate governance, there's areas of ethics, there's areas of internal audit, risk management, and from the vision and mission area and down, I call it more strategy and business analysis. So there's two separate areas here, which I will go over and make it easy for you, and also give you some mini lectures on the key areas of concern. If you know this board and if you know how to answer each term of this in terms of not just theory, but explaining why this is an important point, remember, I'm not asking you to know what something is, but why are we actually using it? Why do we have a model like 5 forces? What does it do? Why are we discussing agency theory? Why is it important? Don't tell me what it is. Tell me why it's important. If you have the whys for all the points here, you can pass. I think I can help you pass this course quite easy. So corporate governance, very important to know what it has to do, what it's all about. So corporate governance starts, in terms of the way I've delivered it, in terms of agency theory. Because agency theory is the people who run the business on behalf of the owners. So I know why this is important, because it's important to understand that the agents do the work on behalf of the ownership. And having someone to run the business for you, like a CEO, has some costs, because you have to pay this person. You have to make sure they report back to you. It takes time to check and look at the KPIs and the performance. So it's important to know that agency theory is the beginning of corporate governance. When companies grew bigger, you needed agents to deal with it. Because in the old days, it was family businesses. Now, in the past 50, 60 years, huge businesses, you need agents. So that's very important, and because you have agents, you have to have a good structure, a good governance structure. What is governance? It's like a government. Like the company has governance and a country has governance, okay? So it's the same comment, let's say, on that. So the agency, of course, theory would lead us to discuss the board. A company must have a board to run its business, okay? Not run, to lead. I think that's the best word. So you need to know, in terms of the board of directors, what the role of the board is. The role of the board is to supervise, to lead, to make sure that the company knows where it's going. And you have to know that you must have a good composition of the board. What does that mean? It means you must have non-executive directors and directors. What's a good balance? About 50% of these people should be in the board. 50% of non-executive directors. Okay? That's minimum according to Sarbanes-Oxley, which is a corporate governance approach. But I'll get into that. You see how things link now. You're getting the idea. So I'm going from top to bottom. I'm going from the top part of a company. So you have to have good governance, and you have the agents who run the business on behalf of the ownership, and you must have a good board to make sure you make good decisions. And the role is important to know, as well as the composition of the board. Now, the composition of the board, as we said, should have a good balance. And in other videos that I've made, and you can probably watch them, I talk a lot about diversity. The board must have people that are different in expertise, in know-how, in backgrounds, because a diverse board gives more opinions and better opinions. Okay, so that's also very important. Now, the board of directors has a chairman and CEO. Now, not all boards have a chairman and CEO, but to be honest, the correct or the best practice, I think that's the best word to use. The best practice is to have two different people, because it's important not someone to be tempted with too much power. So a chairman, which could be a non-executive, as a little detail there, should be different than the chief executive officer of the business. And that's how we have to make sure we have different opinions and people are checking on one another. That's the best practice. And that's why I'm using this different symbol. Okay? Now, there should be, you should know also that there's different types of board. You may have one board in a company. You may have two boards in a company, a two-tier board or a unitary board, which is one board. What are the pros and cons? I want you to know the pros and cons on this. There could be a question like in December 2020, when a question came up on the two-tier and unitary boards, and students had to make sure they write the pros and cons in one of these areas. So very important to know the types of boards, and also the fact that you must have CPD. What's CPD? Continuing professional development. The people in the board need to train themselves. You can't stay with the same knowledge. This is exactly why ACCA is asking all of you to actually update your knowledge every now and then, because you have to make sure you're upskilled. And CPD is also a requirement for people that participate in boards. And they also do something called induction. So I'll put that down as well. The induction process, where someone starts on a board and the company introduces the company to that person. Very important to have these, let's say, these elements for a solid board. Now, I haven't talked about evaluation of board. How do you evaluate a board? Good question. Is your board good? Yeah, I have a good board. What does that mean? You have to have some tangible results for the board to be good or bad or whatever in any way that you judge it. But the evaluation of the board could be very simple. Do you have non-executives? What is the balance of these non-executives? Do you have diversity in your board? Can I see the CVs of the people? Is there a chairman different than the CEO? Are they two different people, or are they the same? Do you have committees? Do you do training and development? These are the things that I would look at to evaluate a board. And there's more, of course. You can check the minutes of a meeting. You can check if people participate in the board meeting. Do they actually go to the meetings? There's so many things on evaluating the board. And my prediction is that more and more companies are going to judge their investments, not on the company and the product, but on the board of directors, people.